Hello, everybody. I hope you are still recovering from last session. It is, or the last two sessions actually. It's been a double
Yeah.
whammy, it seems. This is session number 8, and I have again the full cast here. Thank goodness, because we are pulling forward, and I at this is the point where I don't know what's going to happen. Like I don't know where these characters want to go. I don't know what they want to do given this information. There's so many things that they may decide to do. I have no idea. I'm like very anxious and scared about like whether or not I'll be able to keep up with whatever it is they decide. So before we move into that though, the warm up question, since we have just arrived in Navarra, I wanted to I wanted you guys to start thinking about and answer for me what exactly are your thoughts on the Navarran culture, more specifically their culture as it comes to death itself. Because if you remember, the Navarrans, their take on death, or at least their traditions surrounding death, are very unique to Thetis. Um, Many people, the Andrastian culture, the Andrastian religion, for example, they typically don't bury their dead. They typically burn their dead they cremate them. I'm in this particular universe. There are maybe a few exceptions, like you might get cremated and then buried. You know, your ashes or an urn might be buried as well, just for continuity's sake. Because I know, for example, one of the characters was Andrastian and ended up getting having being placed in a graveyard, a small graveyard of some sort. But um, the Navarrans, if you remember, they have a belief of mummifying. They mummify their dead and put them into what we call refer to as the necropolis, which are these giant, like the city of tombs, basically. Um, I want to know what your character personally feels about this practice. Do they think it's weird? Do they think it's interesting? Do they think it's creepy? You know, are they indifferent to it? Are they like whatever, they can do whatever they want?
That's easy for me because I
Mm-hmm.
just I don't think that Theo would judge. I think that a lot of people find the dwarven belief system very strange and dwarven people in general. And as I've made it a point for Theo to say on numerous times, he doesn't judge a person on principle. He judges them for their actions. And what I mean by that is not necessarily their beliefs or their culture,
Mm-hmm.
but are they hurting people? Are they causing trouble? Are they actually doing anything that impacts the world in a negative light? And as he wouldn't know much about the Mortalitazi anyway, but what he does know, they're not. So it really wouldn't be something that he reacted to with any kind of malice or disdain. It's
Mm-hmm.
as well as the fact that obviously magic in general, dwarves know where it comes from and they know about lyrium, but it's not really something that he feels in a place to judge.
Okay. Who would like to go next?
I actually very much agree with Hannah slash Theo's take on it. Um, Halisair, of course, is all about, you know, yeah, I'm a priest, I believe in this, but other people believe other things. She is very much, as you know, following more histories, and she knows very well that, say, the Avar have a different practice than what today's Andrastians do. So who's to say what's right? Who is to say what's wrong? It's, are these practices hurting anyone? That's the question for her.
Okay.
So that's her thing.
Okay.
And I just plus one, plus one vote for Theo.
Yeah. Yeah. Need to recover plus ones after the arrow.
Hmm. Yes.
Who would
Like
like to
six
go
sessions ago.
ahead? So, in Cedric being a Navarran,
Yeah.
go right
Uh,
ahead.
I think that he wouldn't see it as necessarily weird or different because he grew up in Navarra, so he probably was like not taught or anything, but like he experienced it a lot more. Creepy. Maybe he thinks it's creepy because mummies can be kind of creepy looking, or like just creepy in general. But it's really to each their own for like their practices in general. That you follow whatever makes you happy and can like get you past certain things. It's kind of like the religion, how he doesn't judge people for like whatever religion that they follow. Funeral practices are pretty much the same thing. He would rather people follow the funeral practices that they deem appropriate. For him personally, I don't think he would do like the whole mummification thing. He would probably be cremated like the Andrastians. Like,
Okay. So you would go against the tradition.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that? Is it because you're more Andrastian than?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the reason.
Was your family also Andrastian then? I'm just curious. Your
yes.
parents were Andrastian. Okay.
Yes.
So they probably might have believed in the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm sure that was a totally innocent question.
Sure.
Totally innocent question.
Oh, that grin.
Oh God.
Who would like to go next?
I can go.
Go
Unless
ahead.
you want to go, Kimberly.
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
So for Kenna, she would probably think that the whole mummifying process is really weird and completely against what hers is, because they
Yes.
preserve the body, and in Avar culture, they basically leave the body on the rocks to be picked clean by birds who carry the spirit to the lady where they're reunited with their kin.
Right.
And so the fact that they preserve their bodies, I think, would shock her, kind of like, why would you want to do that? But I think she would remember that it's their practice and their religion, like, okay, that's fine, but
Yeah.
it's a little weird. But
Yeah, because if you remember from session 1, when Eric was when they killed the deer, the stag, and Eric gives his blessing. One of the things that he says is that we were born from dust, and to dust we return. The whole idea of the circle of life. You came from the earth. When we die, we're supposed to return back to the earth. We're not supposed to be preserved. So, yes, totally agree with you there. Okay.
With Andrea, like she's always been wary of religion in general, but that being said, she doesn't really usually care, and she probably wouldn't care that they're doing this, but she believes one should always look forward, and the idea of preserving the dead sounds like a way of always being stuck in the past, so she wouldn't ever do that. But hey, to each his own. But yeah, it's kind of against her living philosophy of just always moving forward and continuing on.
Okay. And I think that was it. Was that everybody?
Yep.
Was that everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So, let us take it from where we left off. So, if you remember, we are currently at the main Templar office. You guys are with Sir Barris, who not only is a very well-renowned Templar from Ferelden, but he also is currently one of the council members, along with Nathaniel Howe and our good buddy Kane, in determining who will become the next ruler of Ferelden. And you also are there with Hugh, who, upon hearing the things that Sir Barris read from the records about Mr. Cedric Ashwood, he appears to be in very deep thought, and Connor his mouth is like a gape. He's
Yeah, me too.
shocked.
I think we all are.
Absolutely shocked. When after Sir Barris says the words "killed 12 years ago," he will continue reading the rest of the file to himself, which will give the rest of you all a chance to react, say something, whatever you want to do. I guess I want to know how Cedric reacts first. Like, what's happening visually? What are the people seeing if they were to look at Cedric right now? What's happening to him visually?
Cedric has more of a dumbfounded look on his face, like almost like Connor's, like where his jaw like hit the floor, but kind of like what? Like,
Yeah.
and then it'll slowly, like as he stopped reading and continued to read silently, he'll get anxious and like verbally say out like, well, wait, what? How did I die? Like, what's going on here? What does it say on the paper?
Does anybody else visually react before I actually get to that? Before I move forward, or even say anything before I move forward?
I think that Halisar would look more confused than anything else. As she is processing this, I would think that her thoughts would start going to the rest of the retinue to see if she needs to get ready to defend her friend.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think Theo is on the same wavelength as Cedric in that he needs more information to process this. He's not really sure how to react, so his face just freezes.
Okay, I'm gonna store that away.
While you guys are standing in that room, now the door is shut, none of the windows are open. You feel that there is a sudden change in air pressure in the room. You start to feel a slight breeze, so much so that some of the papers on the desk are ruffling a little bit. Cedric's, when he's reacting to this, his bracer is growing yellow at this. As the air is starting to like blow around you a bit.
What? That wasn't me.
I think both Sir Barris and the Templar at the desk like look up and have an expression of that's really strange, but this other thing that's happening right now is even stranger. So they're noticing it, but they're not like concerned about it at this very moment. So,
But we notice it, right?
you notice it.
Theo's just gonna be like, Cedric, you're cool.
Can I go next to Cedric and
Yeah.
hold his hand? And
Aww.
since my bracer, sort of the elements have to. What's the word I'm looking for? They can't exist without the aether element kind of thing. They
Yeah.
exist within it. Could I attempt to nullify his bracer so that
Roll a magic roll.
the effects don't work? Oh my god. Okay.
Oh yeah.
14 with a 5 stunt.
Kenna, you will walk over to Cedric and you will carefully take a hold of his hand gently. Your bracer starts to glow a blackish color instead of a whitish color, and the air starts to die down. The wind starts to die down, and then the air pressure returns back to its normal state that it was before.
Yeah, it worked.
Yep. Very clever use of your ability. Very clever.
Nice one.
Sam, I'm giving you 20 experience points for using your bracer creatively.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Okay. Sir Barris is continuing through the file, again with a very concerned look on his face, but he's trying to remain his composure, trying to remain in control of the situation. And it says, according to this, Cedric Ashwood had only just finished becoming initiated into the Templars as a full-fledged Templar. His first assignment was to track down a runaway mage from the Navaran circle. He tracked the mage over to Tevinter. That's pretty common for mages to run to Tevinter. During the time in Tevinter, he was struck dead. The parents of Mr. Ashwood recovered the body, and he is now buried in the necropolis.
The parents, you said?
Yes, Horace and Dana Ashwood.
At this point, he's gonna run over to the desk and say, "Are my parents listed in any of these files? Are there any more Ashwoods?"
The gentleman goes through some of the files, and it looks like Sir Barris is about to say something, but he decides against saying anything. And they go through the files, and he says, "No, I don't have anything on file about Cedric Ashwood's parents. The only reason why I would is if either of them served in the Templar Order, but neither of them did." Horace and Dana Ashwood, Cedric, does not sound like the name of your parents.
Oh, okay.
They do not sound like the name of your parents.
Well then, at that he's gonna start like rubbing his head, like really confused again. And then he's just gonna verbally like say, "Will someone please tell me what's going on? Like, what is this?"
That's what I would like to know, Sir Barris says very suspiciously, looking towards your direction, Cedric.
Could it be to Cedric Ashwoods? I mean, is that a popular name?
I mean, this is clearly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he's not old enough to have been a Templar for 12 years. Look at him.
By that logic, I would have been 10.
That doesn't sound right.
Sir Barris says to the man at the desk, do you at least have contact information for the Ashwoods? I would like to ask permission, as much as I would like to hate to say this, permission to visit their son's tomb. The Templar says, yes, of course, Sir Barris. I'm sure I can get you some contact information. He'll go and he'll be able to find them the address of their house. And if you would like to go there, I guess Sir Barris is definitely going to go there to give them a visit.
No, Cedric will hastily follow behind him.
Okay. Are any of you guys going to do or say anything before we leave the Templar office?
The word tomb, Theo's going to kind of flinch. It doesn't really make any sense to him. Cedric's right there, but he's not going to say anything.
Yeah, Hallie's not going to say anything. She's actually all for going to see what the truth of the matter is.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll stay close next to Cedric in case I have to use my bracer again, because he freaks out. Electrocutes the whole town. I don't know.
Okay. You guys will follow Sir Barris, and you will again cross past the area where the soggy gravestone used to be. Hugh is watching that area as you go by, and you can see if you're paying attention to Hugh, like the cogs are turning in his head as you guys are passing by that particular area. Like he's trying to figure out something, but he can't quite figure it out. When you guys get to this house, it's a very relatively large. It's a relatively large estate. Like whoever the Ashwoods were, they were very wealthy people, very very wealthy people. Cedric, by the way, this doesn't look familiar to you.
Yeah.
This house doesn't look familiar to you. Cerberus will rap on the door, and then an old woman will open it, and she will say, "Goodness me, yes, may I help you?" And Cerberus says, "Mrs. Ashwood, I presume." The old woman says, "No, I'm sorry, sir. I am not Mrs. Ashwood. I am just the person that's the caretaker of this establishment." "I see," he says. "My apologies, madam. Could I please speak with the master of the house, either the Mr. or the Mrs.?" "Oh, I am so very sorry, Sir, Mr. Barris. Mr. Barris, I'm very sorry to say that the Mr. and Mrs. Ashwood, they died in the fire over at the Soggy Gravestone 3 years ago." Sir Barris says, "I see. That's that makes things a little bit difficult. Is there anything that I could do that could possibly help?" The woman says.
A picture, or a portrait, Cedric will yell out. A portrait of the owners. Do you still have them?
"Oh, yes, of course," he says. And then she turns towards you as if noticing you for the very first time, and the old woman's, like, face turns completely white, like she just saw a ghost. And as soon as that happens, like, she starts to spaz a little bit, and Cerberus gets a little bit startled. He runs over to her, and it's almost like the poor woman is, like, having a heart attack.
Oh,
Like,
gosh.
her face is, like, completely white. If you grab a hold of her, she's very cold, and she just can't stop shaking. And Cerberus starts yelling out, "Ma'am, ma'am," and she collapses on the ground. I'll give other people a chance to do something if they want to do something, while this poor woman is having a cardiac arrest at the moment.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, when she started to freak out, Hallie probably would have gone forward to try to comfort her. If she still is continuing to move into, as you say, cardiac arrest, she is no healer, and she knows it, so she will give space to those who might help.
Okay.
Could I use some kind of healing magic that might help?
You can certainly try.
I'll
You can
try.
certainly try. I will, if you're going to cast a healing spell, I would like you to, in addition to do that, roll a healing skill check
Okay.
on top of that,
Oh,
please.
what's healing?
Cunning.
Is that cunning?
Cunning.
Okay. 13?
13. You try to cast a healing spell. It's not an open wound, though. This is different. With a 13, you're not quite able to maintain her heartbeat, and it just keeps going faster and faster and faster and faster. The Cerberus is going to desperately try to do what she can. He might actually, I think Connor will be the first one to pipe up. Says, "I'll try to get help," and he'll run off. I guess Hugh will follow him, and Cerberus, is going to try to start trying to do CPR on the woman. She's passed out by this moment, and he's going to try to do CPR. The problem is he's not, like, super trained in medicine, so he's going to do what he can, but if anyone thinks they can do better, they can offer to. Otherwise, he's just going to continue doing what he's doing.
Kenna, Theo? You're both really smart.
I have healing potions, but I don't think I have anything else with me that has...
Anything that can help with a heart attack?
Maybe I don't know.
Do we have any aspirin?
That would be a huge
You
one.
have living panels. Couldn't you, like, wax on, shock her back into life?
Ooh.
Cedric
Yeah,
is our
Cedric.
AED. Cedric.
I don't think Cedric would think to do that. That's the only problem.
But somebody could suggest it.
Yes,
Any other character can
somebody
suggest it.
suggest it. She will kind of nudge, like she'll when she backs up away from this poor old lady, she will kind of nudge Cedric. A tip of the head.
What? What do you want me to do? I don't know. Medicine?
Choose more.
Now?
Yes.
Okay.
If you care for this woman, yes.
Cedric will approach the woman and kneel down and...
At the same time, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Yes, before he clears. She will also, like, how is Cerberus reacting? Is he still trying, or...
He is still trying, but if he sees that Cedric is going to offer to try something, he'll allow him to. He'll allow him to.
Great, because as he is approaching, so Hallie is also approaching, and she'll say, "You've done what you can, good sir. Perhaps prayer is the next best thing."
He will say, "No, there's still time. We can still save her. There's still time."
Yes, there is. Basically, what she's trying to do is trying to get herself in between him and
Okay.
Cedric, so he can't see what
Yes,
Cedric
I see what you're doing. All right, so while you're distracting him, Cedric, if you're going to attempt to resuscitate her, I need a magic roll from you, please.
Okay. 13.
13.
Literally
Okay.
the same roll.
That's enough to not outright kill her.
Oh, good.
Please now do a medicine roll.
Oh, jeez. What... Is that cunning?
That's cunning.
Yeah.
That's cunning,
Oh,
Cedric.
jeez.
Let me see if maybe I can give you a boost with, like, my
Yeah,
my
I think your ability
abilities?
lets you do that. Yeah, I think you
do
can
think
encourage.
so. I
You're
would love to
you
do
can give him an extra 1d4, I
Right.
believe. Yes, you can do that.
All right,
That's
yeah, let's,
might be a very good time to use it.
let's just do that.
All right, so Cedric, Halasera will give you some words of encouragement.
Certainly.
If she wants to roleplay that, she may.
Yes, she absolutely will. When we have lost all else and when our eyes fail us and the taste of blood fills our mouths, through the pounding of our hearts we can hear creation.
11 total.
Okay. Cedric, you will try to resuscitate this woman. Your bracers will start to glow, and you'll run an electric shock on her, which makes Cerberus wonder what's going on, but he doesn't see what's happening. So I guess he's just thinking that you're just trying to give her CPR. You try to do that a couple times, Cedric, but after trying for... I'm sorry, go ahead, Andrea.
After the first time, can I maybe do an electrical spell to boost him?
You may,
Not at her,
but
like away from her. I've cast it like away from us before, and
you may. I don't think that will help though, because he met the minimum that he needed to not outright kill her.
Okay.
What I needed is for him to be able to actually revive her when that was through the medicine roll. So
Gotcha.
helping with his electricity doesn't help.
Yep.
What about with a little bit of extra warmth and love?
Just wondering, does it stack up? Like, if Hallie's helping, then can other characters help and add another?
Well, I think Hallie, to be honest, is too busy distracting Cerberus, so I would not allow her to help with that. I'm already stretching it by letting her give the encouragement to Cedric. I wouldn't let her do more than that.
Okay, sounds fair.
Okay, so you attempt to resuscitate this woman for another 10 minutes, but unfortunately, she's gone. And by the time Hugh and Connor arrive with some people at a nearby, like a nearby doctor, he will go over to the old woman and sadly pronounce the caretaker dead. Cerberus will remain to answer questions to some of the authorities that will arrive at the scene. And while this is happening, the seven of you can be standing in the foyer area, and in the foyer there actually is a family portrait hanging up over a table of some sort, and you distinctly do see a very wealthy, aristocratic mother or father and their son who does look like your Cedric. He does look like Cedric Ashwood. But you don't remember this house, Cedric. Or these parents.
Cedric will be posted up at like the big, or I don't know how big the portrait is, but at the portrait, and just be staring at himself, like his younger self, like intently, like
Yeah.
trying to pick out little details to see if it really is him.
He first of all, he is not 10 years old. He is about as old as you are now. And if you are trying to pick out little details, he definitely looks like you. I don't think that just by looking at the portrait itself, there's anything out of the ordinary that you would notice, except roll a perception, please. Perception seeing.
9.
9?
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't say that you noticed anything.
Okay.
So everybody else roll another perception, and I'll let Cedric roll another perception as well.
13.
13.
15.
Who had a 16?
I did.
Okay. And what did Cedric get the second time? Okay. Theoben and Halasair. At another wall nearby, there are also another set of portraits, and this portrait shows some of Cedric during his childhood. So you see a portrait of him when he was a little boy, probably around 8 years of age, another one when he was about 10 years of age, all the way up to when he was probably like 15 or 16 years of age. Now, the portrait of him when he was 16 years of age, 15 or 16, he is in the forest barefoot. And one thing that's very interesting is that the two of you notice is his birthmark is not on his left ankle. It could very well be because the artist decided that it wasn't an important thing to include in the portrait when the artist painted it, but it is something that's you might find interesting, is that this painting doesn't have his birthmark on it.
He was gonna just nudge Hallie, you see that there's no.
She nods. Cedric.
Cedric will turn around. Yes?
I have a question about this painting, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, I don't know how much I can answer. None of this is remotely familiar to me. But he'll walk over and look at the picture.
Ankles. Something very important seems to be missing.
Absent a birthmark, I see.
How much of this is familiar to you?
None of it.
None of it. I've never lived in this big of a house. I don't think we've ever had a housekeeper, and my parents did not die in a fire.
Parents, plural.
Yeah, parents. Yeah.
Somebody looks exactly like you?
With the same name?
Well, you say you don't remember it. So something's going on.
Is Hugh around?
Hugh is currently with Cerberus. Connor and Hugh are both with Cerberus at the moment. You can grab him, though, if you want.
I think I do, yeah.
Okay.
Hugh, could you help me outside? Look at something. Quickly.
He will say, certainly, Andrea. He actually doesn't answer you right away because it seems, again, he's in deep thought. You have to, repeat his name again, and then he breaks out of whatever he was thinking about, and then he decides to follow you. So you'll meet him around the corner outside the house?
Yep.
You wish to speak with me, Andrea?
is weird, right?
It is very peculiar.
What are you thinking?
I'm trying to remember something. Something that Cedric told me about earlier. He's trying to rub his head, and he says, I think I might need to say something to him. I can tell that Cedric is very disturbed by a lot of these news, and the last thing I want to do is to add more grief to his plate, but I believe that if there's anything I can do to help him find answers, I might be able to.
What are you thinking?
I am thinking he will either take the news poorly or very poorly.
No, he's already in a poor mood, so, it's not going to change too much. I don't know, because he said that the buildings look different, right? Right?
Yes, he does. And as I was passing by that part of town over there, I couldn't help remember something that he told me about meeting me before.
I have a question. It's a hypothetical, but I do have a question.
Yes.
We came here through Theoben's mirror, right? In the Illuvions?
We did, and took a ship here, yes.
Not Cedric's.
Yes, not Cedric's.
Is it possible that this is not Cedric's place?
I don't think so. He clearly seems to believe that he's from Navarra.
Yes, and he obviously didn't die 12 years ago, and he's not old enough to have been a Templar 12 years ago.
That's the part that is confusing me. That's the part that I'm trying to make sense of.
But if all the mirrors go to different places, yes? Or times or something? I don't know.
Different times. That is something I didn't consider. I didn't know if Alluvions could do that, but then again, I didn't know much about Alluvions when this whole adventure started anyway.
I think we need to talk to the others away from maybe Severus, possibly.
I think I overheard Cerberus talking to the guards about asking for permission to go to the Ashwoods tomb.
We're going to need to grab everybody. This is important. I'll snag Hallie. She seems like she can rally us. You wait here.
Sure,
Okay.
Andrea. Go ahead.
I pop back in. Hallie,
Yes.
come here. I think we.
Support.
I think we all need to talk, like, as a group, right now.
Let's do.
Yeah. Hugh's waiting outside for us.
All right. So she will gently gather the others.
As you guys go out to meet Hugh, some of the guards glance towards Cedric's direction, and you can see their brows furrow slightly, but they don't say anything, and then they turn back to Cerberus. So Cedric will go around the other side of the estate. It's a big house, so you can do it. Okay, so all of you plus Connor, I'm assuming, are there. Go ahead. What happens?
Okay, so hypothetical. This isn't our Cedric's place or time or something. And the Illuvions did something because we came here through Theoben's mirror, right? Not Cedric's.
That's true, Connor says.
Connor, your brother's into some spirity magic stuff. You have any idea?
Well, he looks over at Cedric almost as if he's asking for permission to say what he knows, considering the private conversation you guys had before.
Cedric will not.
Connor kind of rubs the back of his neck and says, "Well, when I spoke with Cedric earlier, I had mentioned to him that maybe it would be a good idea to find out more about those Burgundy folks with the mirror that Gwenael had seen through the shard. It's beginning to sound like that might definitely be the case."
I don't know about you guys, but I mean, obviously, Cedric, you're alive, right? And you didn't grow up here, right?
Not at all.
And you haven't been a Templar, fully fledged.
No.
So something's going on here, and it's not. You shouldn't be so worried because obviously this isn't you. This is something else.
This isn't, and you're correct in that. But I would not let down your guard just yet, especially since
No.
this is also strange.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying whatever happened here, it's not our Cedric. Does that make sense?
So, who is this Cedric then? Connor asks.
The Cedric from his mirror, I would assume. And I'm the Andrea from my mirror.
Are Illuvions really that powerful?
I don't know. I
the
mean,
implication that you're making suggests that we're all different
Realities.
in different mirrors, that we don't all exist in one reality.
hey, magic's weird. I don't know. It's just
That's
Wait,
beyond
Connor,
weird. That's like
That's really, Connor says. It's like it looks like his brain is hurting. Really?
what?
I
Connor?
don't. I mean, don't call me an expert on Illuvions or anything, but I don't think that's how they work. Well, again, I'm not an expert, but
I'm not either. But these were special Illuvion with the Penta'Viv and the Guardians and such. It's all weird.
well, the Illuvians guided us through, but we still ended up at a crossroads with mirrors that, by all accounts, seemed like ordinary Illuvions.
As ordinary as an Illuvion is anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think saying ordinary Illuvion makes sense anyway, because they are weird in their general nature, right?
Okay, but like not freaky ass, like time shifty Illuvions.
Time shifty.
Wibbly wobbly.
wait. Connor says, "You're not suggesting that Illuvions can let you travel through time too, are you?"
Should I know? How much is known about the ancient elves?
I think before we make any kind of theories, we need more information.
I want to know, as creepy as it sounds, Connor says, I want to know what's in that tomb. Ooh, he kind of shakes a little bit.
If what we've heard is to be believed, there's a dead Cedric in there.
12 years dead.
Yeesh. Anyone want to go look at dead bodies?
I want to know who that Cedric is.
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
If you find value in that trip, then I would.
Hugh? Did you still want to say anything right now?
Hugh will nod and says, "Yes, but I want to see for myself what is at the necropolis first, if you do not mind."
No, whatever you prefer.
He will nod.
Cedric's just gonna be staring at the house like, what is this place?
So just to specify, the house is not familiar to Cedric, but Navarra, I mean, you still grew up in Navarra.
Yeah.
As far as you know, you still grew up in Navarra. So it's just the house that's like, I don't remember living there.
Yeah.
Sir Barris will come around the corner and says, "Well, I appreciate all of your help with helping the caretaker. She is going to be, her family will be informed, and right now I was able to ask permission from the captain of the guard to allow us to do some investigating at the Ashwood mausoleum in the necropolis. How are you feeling? He says, turning to Cedric.
About as one would expect. Confused.
I have to admit, Sir Barris says, I had a bit of suspicion towards you for a moment, but based on the authenticity of your reactions to everything, I have come to at least trust that you have nothing to do with some of the craziness that we have been witnessing today.
I can assure you I had nothing to do with this.
I believe you, Sir Barris says. But if you would allow me to, I would like to ask at least for your company as we enter into the necropolis.
Of course. I want to get to the bottom of this as much as you do.
Sir Barris will then lead you all to the Grand Necropolis in the city. And it's not nighttime, it's daytime, but this is just what it looks like at night. The Grand Necropolis is massive. It is as large, it is its own city in its own right. But instead of the city of the living, it is the city of the dead. Very large, Gothic-looking structures, all of which are tombs, grand mausoleums, that many families, they purchase a plot of land where they build these structures, where individual members of the family, as they die, they get put into these fine buildings. As you guys are walking, Sir Barris will say, apparently the Ashwoods were a very wealthy group of people. The Navaran Mortalitasi have come up with new ways to magically preserve the dead when they are mummified and placed in the tombs. Apparently, for the Ashwoods, they had enough money to allow the services where such a corpse can be preserved for many, many years at a time and only show... Essentially, it would almost seem like a day would pass for the corpse each year. When you guys get to the necropolis, you'll see a group of Mortalitasi. He will basically speak with the head Mortalitasi, or at least whoever is acting as the head Mortalitasi there. He will show his credentials. There's a little bit of back and forth between the two because this is pretty unorthodox, and then he will show them a document that says that he does have permission to not only go to the Ashwood Mausoleum, but open one of the tombs of the mausoleum. After about 30 minutes of talking, because, as you can imagine, this is very unorthodox, you will follow them into a rather intricate, new-looking mausoleum. And when the Mortalitasi that guides you there opens it up, you guys will enter, and there's already like a row of paintings and vases and other offering like spots, shrines to various members of the Ashwood family. One of the newer looking ones is relatively near the front, where you see both Horace and Dana Ashwood, where their bodies have been, or at least their shrines to them have been placed. Because if you remember, they supposedly were burned during the fire at the Soggy Gravestone 3 years ago. You arrived at Cedric Ashwood's tomb, and again, there is a portrait of his face just above it, the same portrait that is your character portrait, Kevin. The Mortalitasi will then bring out the tools necessary to pry open the tomb.
Just on a random hunch, she's just gonna stand right next to Cedric.
Hugh will also stand right next to Cedric when this tomb is being opened. The tomb creaks open. Really stale air comes out of the tomb. And it's empty. There's no body in that tomb. The Mortalitasi are shocked and dumbfounded. It's a woman. The woman goes inside, looks at the tomb, and she says, Where is the body? Cerberus, folds his arm, and he says, That's what we all would like to know, as he folds his arm.
What is this? No one else has been in here, right?
Hugh goes over walks into the tomb. There used to be, he says, as he points. So there's dust. There's naturally dust around the tomb. And you can see an outline in the center where the dust is a lot lighter than it is everywhere else. And it clearly shows the outline of a body, of a wrapped body in the dust. So, as he points out, there used to be something here.
Someone else has already exhumed the body? Do you record?
The Mortalitasi says, I'm sorry, sir, I don't understand. We have no records of anyone removing the body from this tomb.
Great. Of all the bodies in here...
That doesn't answer our question, unfortunately, Cerberus says, as he rubs his eyes, as if he's very strained by the situation.
I
How
don't suppose.
diligently is this place watched?
You're at the Mortalitasi says, the Mortalitasi, we go around maintaining the mausoleums very often, but and we keep the gates of the necropolis locked tightly every night before we all leave. I do have no idea how anyone would have been able to come in and take a body from the mausoleums without being caught.
That answers my question. Then I was going to ask out of character, whether or not Theo could judge anything from the environment, from the ground, or anything as to whether there'd been any trespassers. But if they maintain it anyway.
Roll a magic roll. By the way, Halaser, I'll still give you credit, 20 XP, for coming up with the idea to do an electric shock using Cedric's bracers. So I will give you that.
13.
13?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can feel anything through the earth more than you've already been told, honestly. Mm-hmm. The integrity of... Well, I can tell you this. The integrity of the structure as a whole seems to be good, as if it doesn't seem like anyone forcibly broke into this place. The door doesn't seem to be forcibly broken into. Whoever took this thing out of the tomb did it very cleanly. Almost maybe it's possible that it could have happened internally somehow, but that's just a theory.
Very interesting. He's saying as he's scanning the floor in the area.
I'll give you 20 points for that, Theoben.
This wasn't a grave robbing. Nobody forced this open. Nobody forced their way in here.
So they came from the inside?
It's crazy, but if
Could it have been a mirror, maybe?
I don't see a mirror in here, Connor says as he looks in the tomb.
Can we sense for one? Is that possible?
You can try. Roll a magic roll.
I don't know.
Then we'd have had to count on somebody moving the mirror. Mortalitasi would have mentioned something, and nobody's broke in.
12.
You don't sense another mirror, Kenna.
Bummer. He might have already been here. I don't know.
This
Very
is just bringing up
curious.
more questions than answers.
Agreed.
I don't think it's too crazy to assume magic was involved.
Seems to be the answer for most these days.
Yeah.
Cerberus returned to the Mortalitasi and say, I trust you will begin investigating this immediately. And the Mortalitasi, yes, of course, sir. This is an incredible setback. I assure you, we will do what we can to get to the bottom of this. And with that, the Mortalitasi priests will I think they'll close the tomb back again for now, so before they continue on their investigation. Cerberus will sigh, and as he turns around to the group, and he'll continue to be rubbing my eyes. I'm afraid that this hole just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
For us as well.
He says, I definitely want to continue on with this investigation. However, I am already taking out a lot of my time just by coming here. I had promised the other members of the council I would only be here for a day and return right back to attend to the affairs that are waiting for me back in New Denerim.
Of course.
It is good of you to follow your duty like this, sir.
Mr. Ashwood, Cerberus says to Cedric, what are your thoughts of this situation?
I don't know. This isn't my life. I don't recognize any of these buildings. I don't remember dying. I don't remember. My parents definitely. My parents. They're not even the same names as my parents.
Cerberus walks up to Cedric. He studies you very carefully, and he looks into your eyes and says, then what do you remember? What do you remember from your past?
I remember the death of my mother. I remember hearing about the death of my father, who was a Templar. I remember training to be a Templar. I took great lengths to achieve, to be knighted. It was my goal. I wanted to follow in my father's footsteps and help conserve mages. Navara. And then up until I blacked out.
What happened when you blacked out? Cerberus asks.
It was, as I said before, I was accused of wronging a mage, and as we were going to get to the bottom of it, I never reached the Templar who was in charge. I just sort of passed out, blacked out, and then I awoke on a ship.
Well, I read your report, I read your records, and it didn't say anything about Cedric Ashwood being accused of murdering anyone. So I don't think that there's any leads there. Apparently, Cedric Ashwood was a fine candidate. He rose up in the ranks relatively quickly.
That's just another concern. Who is this other Cedric Ashwood? Why does he bear my name, but not my parents?
I have no idea. That is, unfortunately, a mystery that I cannot continue to solve past tomorrow morning.
I do have some idea. I'm not sure how well it will be, or how much it'll work, but the Templar, I had a friend here
You had a friend here. What was his name?
Thomas. Thomas Fulton, right?
Thomas Falter. Thomas Falter.
Yes.
Perhaps I should go find a record and see if I can learn anything about this Thomas Falter.
I mean, it's another long shot, but I'm grasping at straws to try to figure out what's been going on.
It's getting late, I'm afraid. I'll tell you what. I will have to leave early tomorrow morning. But I will give you this written document. He'll start writing. I'll give you a written document that gives you permission to seek out the records of one Thomas Falter. Just to at least help you figure out what is going on here. I ask that whatever you discover from this, because I think this may or may not be of a great concern to the Templar Order in the first place, that you report whatever findings you have back to me.
I will do so. Utmost haste.
If your dwarf friend, he says, turning to Theoben, is right about his suspicions, I would not necessarily completely trust the Navarans here. He says that discreetly without anybody listening.
I understand.
You say that you were training up to become a Templar.
Yes, sir.
You believe that you are Cedric Ashwood. Technically, the Cedric Ashwood, who at least lived here, was already a full-fledged Templar. If you would like, he says, I feel that this is outside of my realm, outside of the realm of what I normally do. If you would like, for the purposes of allowing you to get to the bottom of this situation, for the good of the Templar Order as a whole, I can officially knight you as a Templar now.
I don't know what to say. Frankly, it would be an honor to be knighted by you. It's something that I've strived for what seems like the majority of my life. But again, I don't wish to put any trouble upon you.
I am extremely curious about what has happened to this Cedric Ashwood, he says, pointing at the tomb, as well as what exactly happened in Tevinter when he arrived there and was killed. If you are able to take that as your first task as a newly knighted member of the Templar Order, I think that would be a fine purpose that would elevate you into a knight status.
I will gladly take up that mission. Though he bears my name, he was a brother, a fellow Templar, and any Templar that is wrongly killed should have justice be done by them. It would be an honor to find out more of his untimely demise.
Very well. In that case, if you will follow him, he will ask you to come outside of the mausoleum. He will take you over to a chapel. Now there is a religious chapel that is just outside on the edge of the necrop of the city, and it is going to be there that he will go through the ceremony. It's a very, simple, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles that you normally would, but during this time, Sir Barris will be able to acquire whatever materials he needs from the Templar office, and then he will be able to go through a very simple 15 minute ceremony to officially knight you as a Templar. Sir Barris will approach you. He will have his long sword out, and you will be kneeling down in front of him as he gives a prayer to Andraste, and he says, "By the power of the Maker and the Lady Andraste herself, I, Sir Barris, hereby knight thee, Sir Cedric Ashwood of the Templar Order. May he continue to follow the Maker's path and continue to defend the people of Thedas in his name and show all people towards the light." And with that, he will take the sword on his right shoulder, his left shoulder. "Rise, Sir Cedric Ashwood, for you are a full knight of the Templar Order."
Yay!
Yay!
"I will give to you," he says, he gives you a box. This, you will know what this box is. If you remember from Dragon Age Inquisition, this is the box that contains your lyrium. He will, when he hands this to you, he says, "I will tell you something that I try to tell all people that I initiate, Sir Ashwood. Lyrium is a very powerful thing, but I personally do not believe it is wise to always be reliant on it. It is true that we gain much of our power from lyrium, but be careful, for those who depend on it too much may find themselves not being able to serve the Maker as clearly during their last days." I believe you understand what I'm referring to.
Yeah. Yes.
Know that lyrium is meant to be a tool, an aid for the Templar Order, not a crutch.
I understand that fully.
He will give you a smile, and he will hand you the box, the lyrium box.
Cedric will take the box and return the smile.
Within that box, Cedric, you basically have 12 doses of lyrium. Specialization unlocked. Connor is going to applaud when the ceremony is done. Sir Barris will say, "If you excuse me now, I must turn in for the night. I've made arrangements for you all to rest in one of the inns in the city. Please give them my name, and they will show you to your quarters. I will be leaving at sunrise tomorrow morning at the docks. You are welcome to come with me if you wish. Otherwise, I will bid you farewell for now."
Thank you for your help, sir. I would have a word with you in private before you leave.
"Of course," he says. "And please," he says, "if any of you are around New Denerim, please look me up." Sir Barris will follow Halasair. If you want to speak with him now.
Yeah. As long as
Okay.
it's before he leaves.
Yes. Go ahead.
I am concerned, sir. You head to a council of utmost import.
Indeed.
And yet I and my friends have seen strange things even today and well before that may cast... I am not a diplomat, so I will be frank with you. Cedric
Please.
Panic.
Yes.
As I understand, he came calling to you with an artifact, with the artifact.
The Anvil of the Void. Yes. He arrived with several wagons carrying it.
Yes.
Yes.
You, as far as I understand, have done nothing but a good and true duty, and for that I do thank you. However, I have a history with this man.
I see.
And she's just taking a moment to center herself. Remember what Kenna said. This man would not make a good king. This man is a liar. And I believe I do not trust his intent. Even if I did not know the man, I would not trust his intent. I would like to have faith that you see this as well.
Sir Barris quietly nods. I believe that it is quite apparent that I have my personal reservations for Sevian Hannick myself. Sevian is the type of person who has proved time and time again, or so he tries to prove time and time again, that he would be an ideal candidate as a ruler of Thedas. I, however, have had my suspicions. The only problem is I've had great difficulty proving any of my suspicions to be fact. The other unfortunate thing is it is not up to me completely to decide who becomes the next ruler, assuming we even decide to have a monarchy in the first place. There is discussion of possibly creating a completely different government than Ferelden. However, that is for another topic of discussion. Assuming that we were to continue the tradition of monarchy, he says, well, let me just say that there are more than one candidates, and there are ones that I personally believe would be a better fit. I appreciate you voicing your concerns. Know that you are not alone in your anxiety of considering Mr. Hannick as a candidate.
Please believe me, sir. I am not just concerned. I'm a witness to some of the deeds he has performed.
Which Andrastian church are you a part of, Lady Halisair?
I began my trainings in High Ever.
The Kuzlins.
Yes,
I'm sorry to hear that.
as am I. However, training is training, and the words of the Maker are still the words of the Maker. I spent my life trying to follow in Andraste's footsteps and do right by what she would have us do. For a while, Sevian Hannick was the same way, and we spent quite a long time together freeing the world of evil, until the one time he had the chance to sacrifice all of that to get power.